Yeah.
Alright, we're ready. Okay, so how is everyone today for a start? Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a nice day today as compared to how it has been.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go through some general housekeeping. Please have your phones turned off or on silent.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay. In case of an emergency or a fire or whatever, we've got exit there, one through the kitchen and one through the laundry. You can exit, have an exit in your head so we don't all cram for the same one. And the toilets is just in the laundry if you need it. Okay, so we just want to go over what we went through in the last sort of session. We did the PowerPoint display on dementia. What stuck out to anyone in particular, or if there was anything in particular that stuck out? Yes, Mum?
Just the different types of dementia. I did not know there were so many.
Yeah, there is. It's incredible how many there actually are, and like we mentioned, dementia being an umbrella term for so many different conditions that fall under that category, Alzheimer's being sort of the most common.
The different effects in each one.
Yes, yes. How each different dementia type has a different behavioural effect or memory effect. Some can be quite aggressive, some can be more of the pleasantly disorientated, as you'd call it. Alright, so today we're going to go over behaviours of concern. Now, who could give me an example of a behaviour of concern?
Aggression.
Aggression? Yeah.
That's
What
what I was
you're
about
gonna
to say. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Where they go very quiet and don't say anything.
Become very withdrawn, yes, that's another one. Anyone got another one? No? What
Well,
about
just forgetting things? Just
frustration?
yeah.
What about anxiety
Yeah.
or fear? Because if you're walking into a place that you may have been 100 times, but you don't remember that you've ever been there, you can get very anxious and feel lost. Where am I? I don't know where I am. I'm confused. Who are these people who want me to take tablets? Who are these people who want me to eat whatever they've put in front of me? I don't like that. So yes, there are a few different types out there. I do want to mention I have a guest today. We've got Lisa here. She is my colleague and she's going to assist with our training today. She's going to help me do some demonstrations on behaviours of concern, and we're going to have a discussion around how to de-escalate situation and the different types that there are. So I've got some handouts here. So one between two. So we're going to work in pairs today.
Yep. Okay. Doing a bit with that.
I will mention quickly that after we've done this demonstration, we have a very quick assessment, but we'll be doing it as a class.
Yep.
I think we've got about 8 questions, and we'll be discussing it as a class.
You've got extras for...
We're sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone should have roughly
Okay. Yeah.
on between 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so if you look on the first sort of page, it goes through examples of behaviours of concern: verbal disruption, physical aggression, repetitive actions. Now I want to give an example about repetitive actions while I'm thinking about it. There was one lady I used to work with, and she used to have her walk it, and she'd sit there and just go 1, 2, 3, and then take a step and do it again. So it would take her about half an hour just to get down the hallway. That is more of an anxiety, but it's definitely a behaviour of concern.
Yeah.
That's one example. Has anyone else got something they can think of if they've experienced a behaviour of concern or been confronted?
Probably with my mum. She was always waiting for family to come and pick her up to go home.
Okay.
and she would have a few clothes she'd put on the bed ready, and she'd say, oh, I've got my clothes ready, waiting, and they'll be here soon to take me home, and I'd say, oh no, you live here now, Mum, and go over all that again for her, but you know, probably I should have said, oh yeah, we'll wait a bit longer and they might be here, and so I've learnt through this that, yeah, you need to, perhaps just go along with them, and not,
Absolutely.
yes, and not fight against it, so, you know, there's a lot of things,
Because you're
you know,
not
I
going
could
to
do
get
better.
crossover with that sort of behaviour. It's an
Yes.
anxiety slash
Well, I was wondering perhaps
confusion
if
together.
it was anxiety,
Yeah,
yes,
it's quite, she's forgetting,
yes, yeah,
you know, that she lives there, but
Yeah.
she's also saying, you know, I don't want to be here, I
yes,
want to go home,
yes,
that
yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah.
So it's quite,
And it's also if I nipped down the shop and thought, oh, it's quicker for me just to go down, explain to her, I'm just going to the shops, I'll be right back. And she's like, oh, okay. And then when I get home, she's in tears because I've left her.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I don't want her.
Oh,
so again, that's
oh,
the
no.
anxiety of forgetting, and then all of a sudden she's on her own. And so.
Yeah, that does make it hard.
Mm.
So we want to do a couple of demonstrations of a behaviour of concern. We'll start with maybe anxiety, like you mentioned, and that's more the I don't know where I am, oh I'm confused, oh I'm ashamed, I don't know where I am. What are we going to do in a situation like this? How do we de-escalate that anxiety or redirect it to something else? Has anyone got any suggestions?
So reassurance
Absolutely.
that you're okay.
that's probably the biggest thing, I'd say.
Yeah.
Definitely the
Something
first
I've found that works really well is offering a cup of tea. Why don't you come with me, we have a cup of tea, we have a chat, a diversion, or why don't we go for a walk and see if we can find a picture on the wall, or you know, flowers that might be in vases somewhere, and then maybe we can have a chat like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard, anxiety is difficult because it's a continuing thing.
Mm.
It's not something, I mean, you can de-escalate it, but then it's going to come back, and it could come back 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, you don't know. So that's where we want to mention care plans. Every resident, every patient will have their own care plan. And it's really important to get to know your patients or your residents by reading their care plan, so you know things that might set them off. Maybe they don't like a particular colour, so, or smell, or food, drink, or even a person. Yes? You're not going to get along with everybody. No,
I have seen that happen, and sometimes
Sort 'em out.
if they see somebody, I've seen that happen once before, where we had two residents that just did not get along.
Clashed.
Yes, big time.
More that one would become aggressive when she saw the other,
Oh wow.
and it was just only this person. She was fine with everybody else, but as soon as she would see this one lady,
Yeah.
she would become physically aggressive
Wow.
towards her.
Reminded her of someone in the past, maybe. Or
Possibly. So we never knew, because she had dementia, she had, you know, short-term and long-term memory loss. We couldn't, you know, find out what it was, but it was just this one lady that triggered the behaviour for her. So it was almost like we would have shown that if she looked like somebody else that she knew that perhaps she didn't like, or there was a bad memory or something like that. Yeah.
And it's important to know these things. As difficult as it is to keep people separated, and if they're in the same unit, it's not going to happen.
No.
You're not going to be able to do it. So you have to keep your eyes out as much as you can. So if something starts to happen, you know, I've seen that person now, I'm getting a bit antsy about it.
Yeah.
I want to throw some punches.
Yeah.
And it happens. I've
It's
seen it
and
myself.
she did. She that's what her physical aggression was. She would get
Start biting her.
Oh yeah.
not biting, just the full on punches and
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the elderly and you think frailty, but no,
That's
no,
true.
no, they're very strong, and they will hurt you.
They will.
Oh, they can.
It's
They might.
incredible. The
It-
strength is
It's
amazing.
Yes.
ironic that you put it this way, but when their mind is set on something,
Oh,
they
the power
just
of
they get their strength from somewhere. It's just
It's phenomenal.
Oh, it is. It's incredible.
especially when you're on the receiving end of it.
Yeah, yes, and that's where we're going to go now to the aggression. It is frightening. It's really frightening when someone's being aggressive towards you.
Yeah.
Like working in facility care, I've been slapped, punched, choked.
Same.
It's very scary. It is really scary. Like if you've got someone coming at you, both hands, and you see the anger in their face, it's what do you do in that situation? How do you defend yourself without defending yourself, if that makes sense? Try and, well, you will always be faster than they are, so don't be afraid to turn and run.
Yeah, okay.
If
Okay.
It's having space, isn't it, around you, so
Keep-
you're not in
yeah.
a corner.
yes,
In front.
never back yourself into a corner, ever.
Yeah.
You always, but if you know that someone has a history of aggression, make sure you've always got an exit and you know where your exit is.
Yeah.
Always. That's not nice. If they're in the bathroom, don't put yourself or don't put them between you and the door.
And they advise that with,
Yes.
with community clients, it's one thing that the carers are advised to do when they go to the home is for them to note, make a mental note first of where the doors are.
Okay.
Yes.
So that way if something happens, they know exactly where to get out quick, fast in a hurry.
Yeah.
Because they're on their own there.
That
don't
could be
have-
exacerbated too, because you're going into you're coming into my territory.
That's
My-
right.
you're
It's
coming
another
in
thing.
here.
You're a stranger going into someone's home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I'm
Well,
sure
they might be fine, like when they let you inside, but things can change. Like you might switch on a vacuum cleaner or something like that, and it can trigger something, the noise or just something like that. Or you might not do something in a particular way, like the way they want it done,
How dare you?
Yeah.
and that can trigger them. So
Absolutely.
there's just heaps of different things that
A
can
good
trigger them.
a good example of that is when Sean and I were doing a nursing home. We started making, they were fine, one fellow was fine, we started making noise,
Yeah.
and he got all fired up, and they took him out of the room,
Yeah.
and one of the people come back in the war,
Yeah.
and any loud banging noises.
Yeah,
was enough.
PTSD.
PTSD,
Yeah.
yeah, and I've had a couple with PTSD too, so this is where the care planning comes into it. That we would put in his care plan that there was to be no talk about the war, there was to be nothing on TV about the war, because that was his triggers. It was just not a good experience for him.
Yeah.
So it was put in his care plan as one of the strategies to not trigger his behaviour,
Yeah.
to just eliminate
Yeah,
all
so
of
now
that.
when I go to nursing homes or anywhere like that, or retirement villages, we always tell them straight away, there's going to be a noise, they don't like it, they might move down the other end of the
Yeah.
hallway somewhere.
Yeah.
Because they get quite, I don't know what the word would be to use, like quite flustered and walk around in circles, and you can see it by their face, they're getting frustrated and angry and scared all at the same time.
That's right. And a lot of aggression can stem from fear. It's triggered a memory of some sort, and that's just a way to protect ourselves. Like everyone's got that fight or flight response. Everyone has that, and if you feel threatened in any kind of way, you know, you're gonna put up. You know, so what we want to do is de-escalate this situation. So we're going to have a little thing here. Say I'm threatening. What are we going to do? What do you think Lisa should do to protect herself without showing any aggression herself?
Turn
This
around
is
and
where it
walk
gets
away.
hard.
Yeah, gently step back.
Oh, yeah.
So
So
that's the
step
first thing
back,
that I would
back,
do.
It's a nice
So
rate
don't turn
off.
your back.
Yeah, no, that's
But slowly and calmly.
But depending on where you are, so if one other thing that you can do, depending on the environment that you're in, is you can make when you go to move, you might be near a table or something like that. So what you can actually do is manoeuvre around the other side of the table.
Oh,
So
yes.
you've got the table in between you to protect yourself.
Yes.
So it's going to make it a bit harder for them to
That's a
get
good
to you.
idea.
The chair's a bit different because they can pick it up and they can throw it at you.
Yeah.
A table, like
Yeah.
something big like that, or a lounge, or you know,
Yeah.
you can make sure that that's in between you to
Right. So what next?
de-escalate.
You've given yourself some space. What's next?
Try and talk them down.
Yeah, so
Exactly. What would you say? How would you try to talk someone down? from an aggressive sort of state. Yeah.
With someone with dementia, I would not actually know the first thing about how to talk them down.
Fair
You
enough.
know to talk a normal civilised person down, but not someone with
Don't
with
be
dementia.
forgetful. It's important to
No.
keep a low, calm
Yeah.
tone of voice. Tone of voice is one of the most important things you can use in this situation.
Perhaps
So
this is when you could say, would you
You're
want to come and
okay.
have a cup of tea? As you
Yes,
mentioned
that-
before.
Yep, that
Yeah.
would work.
It's
So
got to
it's
be
okay.
yeah,
that
reassurance. That's right. So it's more of a
Yeah.
okay. I can see you're upset. Why don't we have a talk about why? Why do you feel this way? Because any form of a behaviour of concern is a need that they have that is not being met. So they have the need that it's not being fulfilled.
Okay.
And I know it makes our job as carers much more difficult, but we need to try and figure out what that need is.
So what would you do if the cup of tea doesn't work? What if they still are saying, no, get away from me? You know, they might be lunging at you initially, but then they get to the point where you try to de-escalate the situation, but they don't want a bar of you. What would you do then?
Perhaps go
Would it be
outside
better-
for a walk?
Or get someone else to come in and try and tackle the situation.
That could
so
work
to
too.
speak.
It could. That could make it worse.
That's
Because
right.
then they've just got another person.
So it's all threatening. Oh my gosh, I've been backed into a corner. There's more people here. They're ganging up on me.
Yeah.
It's
Just
more
the
like
first-
what they can suggest, so you might suggest a tea, but then you can say, is there anything, what is it you want, what can I do for you, so then they can say, I need to go to the toilet, or
Yes.
something, so that's
Or
that,
I'm hungry.
I'm hungry, and then you've worked something out. Maybe.
So sometimes one of the best things you can do is just leave them alone.
Leave them
That's
alone.
right.
Yeah.
Walk
away
Just
and
give
give
them
them space. I'll come back.
5-10 minutes,
Yeah.
and they will end up calming themselves sometimes. And you can go back after 10 minutes or something, and then try again.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen before.
Yeah.
And by that time, they will have forgotten what they were angry or upset about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Works for some. Everybody is different. You know, you can't assume what works for one person is going to work for another.
Yeah.
And again, that's where care planning comes into it as well.
That's right. That's exactly
Because if
right.
it really escalates and they look like they're going to be hurting themselves, that's when you need to ring someone and say, this isn't a very good situation.
Yes.
Yeah, ambulance even.
Yes.
Like, could be.
Depending on
to that.
especially if they're threatening self-harm.
Yeah.
That's always scary. You know, you've seen that people go up to a wall and just start headbutting a wall
Yeah, we have to do
and
something.
hurt themselves. You need to intervene then.
An ambulance can restrain, whereas a carer
We
can't.
can't.
That's right.
That's right, we can't touch
Yeah,
them.
but they can restrain them to a stretcher. They can also get the police to support them as well.
Medicate.
Right.
I guess what you're wearing too could be a trigger,
It could be.
particularly if you was, like someone just said, a veteran, a veteran, and you know, if you've got some sort of uniform on, that could trigger all sorts of memories.
Definitely could.
So that would be part of the care plan, I would
Yes, it certainly would. And on that note, especially if they were injured and had to go to a MASH, they'd see nurses' uniform and go, oh my God,
Yeah.
nurses.
Yeah.
I know them. I know the uniforms now are quite different to what they were, but it's still
I'm
you can
thinking, I got them on back in this.
yeah
this jewellery.
back in the MASH
It can
tent.
be a cultural thing too, and especially in this day and age, it can come down to, you know, those that might have fought against the Japanese or something like that.
Yes.
You know, or they might have fought in the Korean War or Vietnam or something like that. It can be a cultural thing if they've got a carer who is of Asian descent.
Yes, and they-
That might not be a good thing. You know,
Yeah, that's in the care plan.
That's where it's so very very
I
important.
choose not to.
there's so many different things that can trigger a person's behaviour, and it's really important to have all of those things and have that knowledge and put it in their care plan for any care worker to know about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Going over one more behaviour of concern. It's stealing.
Oh,
I see your pen there. I want that pen. That's my pen now. You're not getting it back. It's my pen. Right. No. Oh, I see more pens. They're all my pens now. What are we going to do? Oh yeah, double walk
You would
around.
be surprised
Yes.
how much this happens.
I remember once giving an example of when I was working in a facility. I was doing a night shift, and one lady walked up to me with this box, and inside this box was everyone's dentures. So like ninjas, we had to figure out which dentures went with which top and bottom dentures went and who they belonged to.
Oh my goodness.
She went into everyone's rooms and took their dentures.
Oh no.
I think I've got Jason's teeth in today.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
She had some teething issues.
Indeed.
That would have taken
What would we do in a situation like that? How do we stop that kind of behaviour?
lucky dip.
Yeah. I remember you gave me an example about how you dealt with one lady who had this issue.
Yeah.
Would you like to share that one with
Sure.
us?
So like what Vicky was just doing with the pens, this lady used to walk down the hallway of the nursing home and sometimes into other residents' rooms, but she would just grab things on the way, no matter what it was, and she'd put it in her walker. So what we started doing was we would collect these little knickknacks and we started planting them down the hallway and in the common rooms and things like that. So it didn't matter if she took them, and we had a whole heap of them. And then what we organised, I don't think I mentioned this, what we organised was if her son came and visited with her, he would take her out of her room, we'd be able to go and collect the knickknacks and then go plant them all again for her to go and do it again. And it stopped her from going into other residents' rooms and taking their belongings, and stopped her from taking our belongings, like all our pens. She was a pen collector and everything else she could find, but it was a way of allowing her to keep doing something that it kept her calm. And we weren't saying, no, you can't do that. We weren't necessarily encouraging it either, but I guess it is like A1 Ben, isn't it? But it stopped the issue of her causing aggression of other residents because she was taking their things, she was going into their room, taking their things. So we allowed her to do that to stop a bigger situation. Sometimes you got to do
We
that.
got this little lady to fold up all the towels.
We do that.
She loved it.
Yeah, that's another. It's another method of distraction. We used to use bandages.
Yeah.
Obviously, not ones that we were going to use on people again, but we would keep a box of them and serviettes and things like that. But the bandages, we would unroll them, and you could take them to a person. What you'd find with a lot of people with dementia is they still want to feel useful. They want to feel like they're helping somebody.
They're doing something.
So we would give them this basket or box of bandages and say, look, I really don't have time to do this. Do you think you could roll these up for me? Because it's not the easiest task for someone to do.
No.
Or we'd tie loose knots in them and ask them if they could undo the knots and then re-roll the bandages. And it works a treat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're helping us.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really good distraction technique, especially if someone's going around and pinching things that don't belong to them. They want to be busy.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They're bored.
That's okay.
Give them something to do, and most of the time that will work. It won't work all the time, and sometimes you will find yourself waiting for them to go to sleep and putting people's things back to where they belong.
Okay.
And then they forget they even had them in.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
exactly. So that was the case with that lady, that she would forget, but it would be the next time she'd want to go for her little walk that she'd see them all again, and then she'd just be like,
Nope,
and then take them back to her room. But the funny thing is, she would always put them in the same spot.
Groundhog Day.
So we always knew where to find them.
It's a Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's do it all over again.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for your participation in that one. We do have a short assessment, but like I said, we will be discussing it as a class. So if you just want to take one and pass it on. Hopefully our printer is there for myself.
You go for it.
You can have your pen back.
Bloody stealing it.
That's alright. Make sure you have enough pens, Matthew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Everything. So does anyone need a book or something to lean on?
No, it's
Yeah,
all
plenty
there.
over there.
Oh, good. One word answer.
So I got the cheat sheet here.
You don't.
Don't talk about your wife like that.
Alright, we'll go through question 1. What are some signs and symptoms of dementia? First of all, does anyone know the difference between a sign and a symptom?
Symptom will be so displayed. A sign is something that's visual and obvious.
Well, that's, yeah, it's 73. A sign, I always remember a sign is mine. A sign is something I can measure. You've got high blood pressure. I can measure that. That's a sign. Pain is more of a symptom because I can't measure it.
Okay.
I can do a pain scale and you can tell me your pain's a 9 out of 10. The next person could say this is a 2 out of 10 and they're displaying more discomfort than you are. So it's, a sign is mine. It's something I can measure. So what would a sign on symptoms of dementia be?
A sign would be expression.
Yeah, that could be one. Absolutely.
Confusion.
Yes, memory loss, confusion.
Crying, upset.
Yeah.
Lack of appetite.
So with the sign and the symptom type of thing, so you mentioned about confusion, so someone might be more confused than normal. So quite often we would find it can come down to if someone's behaving unusual and really confused, like I said, more than normal, can be sometimes dehydration. Yeah, a UTI is probably our first go-to. With what we would suggest them to take them to a doctor and get them tested for a UTI, especially in the elderly women more so absolutely find it a lot, and it affects them mentally. But dehydration can also affect them mentally, but dehydration also lowers their blood pressure. It can make them feel unwell, can make them feel nauseous.
Really yucky. Yeah. Being dehydrated isn't just a hog dry mouth thing, it affects all of you.
Yeah.
To make you really weak, really tired, really irritable.
And a person with dementia isn't necessarily going to remember that they need to have a drink. And they might not recognise that feeling that they dehydrated and that they need a drink. They need somebody else to help them.
So then they become scared, then they become fearful.
Absolutely. Yeah, being fearful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Alright, question 2. What are some diagnostic tests for dementia? Yes, absolutely. CT scan, MRI, blood tests, and you can also do cognitive tests. Just sit down, have a list of questions and see how they go with them. You can do, what is it? You know how you get those little maths tests?
Yeah.
Very basic, very simple.
They do it with shapes sometimes.
Yeah, shapes, names,
pictures.
places. Not everyone's going to know who the current Prime Minister is, so I found that to be a pretty useless question.
What's the more simple questions like?
What's the day of the week? What's the date today? Do you know what the...
Yeah, something that you would know that the normal
that
person
should...
would have to answer,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what we took Mum down for.
What season is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What day is it today?
Yeah.
And the date, does she know that? And she used to get really angry at having to do it. We couldn't go in there, but you know, the time. And have a look at these things. I'll tell her a couple of words and then I'll come back and see if you can remember those words I told you. And so,
Because it probably would have frustrated her if she wasn't able to do it.
That's right, and that's why I think she was
It
really
makes
cross.
them feel
Mum didn't get cross very often, but that's one of the times.
Yeah, which
I
is
remember her getting
which
cross.
is understandable.
Yes.
You know, I think anybody in that position
Yeah.
would probably feel like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Question 3. What are the 4 main types of dementia?
Lewy body.
Lewy body,
Oh,
yes.
I remember those.
Alzheimer's, yes. Vascular, and one more. Frontotemporal. Out of all,
What's it? Answer?
Frontal temporal or frontal lobal.
Oh, look, you probably won't know what I've written here.
Oh, I'm not right. Yeah.
Oh, you
Oh,
got
that's
it.
all right.
These are right.
Lewy body, Alzheimer's, frontal temporal.
Vascular.
Vascular.
Vascular, frontotemporal, and Alzheimer's. Is that right?
And Lewy body.
Oh, what's that? How do you spell that?
L-E-W-Y.
L-E-W-Y.
Y.
Body.
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 Body. B-O-D-Y. Body.
Yep, no, I know
Yeah,
that
that's the
word.
one.
Okay.
Very helpful, hey?
It is.
Okay. What are some communication challenges with dementia? I think we
Not
went.
being able to understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not being able to understand. We went through this in our very first training session with the cue cards and the picture cards. So if you've got someone who is now non-verbal, picture cards can come in to help with that. If you've got someone, I remember mentioning it in the first session, who had English as a second language, can all of a sudden forget to speak English. That's another communication challenge. If someone is more confused and more aggressive, maybe they don't want to hear what you've got to say. Yeah, they're all communication challenges.
Yeah. Well, it's forgetting basic words.
Yeah,
Drink, tea,
how to
all
ask,
those things. How to ask.
how to
because
ask for something that
not
you need.
remembering those actual words.
Yeah, not knowing.
Not remembering our names.
Yes.
And so we never got called by our name. It's just nobody. No, it's just can I have this or? But then she couldn't display what she wanted. So
Yeah,
So
sure.
non-verbal covers a lot of those things. Yeah.
Okay. Number 5. What are 4 types of communication?
Oh, verbal,
Yes, verbal,
Speech. Yeah.
visual,
visual, yes, touch, non-verbal, body language,
I was going to say sign language.
sign language, absolutely. That's another one. We've got more than 4. It's great.
I'm also going to put in for some, and for some with dementia it does work, is written.
Yes, absolutely.
So the reason I say that is when you're around someone with dementia all the time, you are constantly saying the same thing over and over and over. So what we've started to do is use a whiteboard in our main area, and we write on there for someone who has, say, short-term memory loss. They don't remember who's picking them up and they don't remember what time they're going home, so we're going to put it there, and then if they keep asking, we'll point to that, they'll read it, and it just seems to register with them more than us saying it verbally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that works for some people as
I
well.
had that when I was working at the SDO over here doing the photo there in the eating room. They had all the list of things that each person had to do. They had their name, how they come in, where they sat, what they picked up first, and what they would eat first, and how they went about it.
Yeah,
what they would eat in the person.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those things. So just having, and that ties into visual as well, I guess.
This
You
one
know, the
actually,
visual.
this one actually had written there like a lady's name and eat your soup first, then eat your meal after, then eat your dessert last.
Yeah.
She had
Right.
it written in the certain way.
That's a really good idea, actually.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. Remember what order to eat your meal in.
And they had it written there for several of them.
Yeah.
Not all of them, obviously, but
It's a
several.
great
Yeah,
idea.
so for some that does work better instead of having someone, because then you're not telling them what to do. They don't like that. They want to be independent, and that's promoting their independence.
That's right. And most people in facility care will have a whiteboard in their room or a blackboard in their room. So you can write, good morning, my name is such and such, or I'll be taking care of you today. And today is Monday, the 17th, or whatever the date is. It is spring, the weather outside is raining or hot. So then they also know, okay, it's raining, it's cold, I'll put on my jacket today. It's hot, I can wear a dress. Question 6. How do distraction techniques work?
Well, it helps break up their train of thought
Exactly.
if they're angry or upset or something.
Music's good. Music therapy.
Music is good, and again, it's a redirection.
Yeah.
So you've got someone who's anxious, upset, angry. It's like, all right, why don't we come and have the cup of tea, and we can have a discussion about this. I remember mentioning in the last session about the man with his dog. He had his dog, and at 7 o'clock every night we called for his dog because he used to be a farmer, and he used to do that at 7 p.m. every night. And a good way to help him was to say, okay, why don't we go into the kitchen and see if we can find some treats to give to this dog. And on your way to the kitchen, you can ask him if he wants a sandwich, he wants a cup of tea. So by the time you get to the kitchen, you actually forgot that he was calling for his dog, and now you're there having a sandwich or a cup of tea with him. It's all misdirection or redirection. Okay, number 7. What are some behaviours of concern?
Aggression.
Aggression.
Stealing.
Yes.
If they-
It's just a pen, get over it. Anxiety, depression, repetitive behaviour.
There's one, it's almost classes, I guess it would be classes a mental illness these days, but hoarding is another thing, and it's becoming more and more common.
Yes.
We've seen it more and more lately, of them just not, like they feel the need to keep their newspapers and stack their newspapers. I've seen it in both nursing home and community, of people not wanting to let go of things.
Yes.
So that was
More,
another thing.
more prevalent in community care.
Yeah.
I've been to a few homes where you have to climb over things, over boxes, and your hallways are just stacked. And you've got a lot of them won't sleep in their bedroom because they can't get into them anymore.
Okay,
So they'll have a space set up in their lounge room and a special trail that goes to the toilet and the shower and the kitchen, and you're not allowed to touch any of their stuff. So don't, all hell will break loose. Question 8 over the page. How can you implement communication techniques with behaviours of concern? We were doing the demonstrations with aggression. How you're losing the
lowering
low
the
tone
voice.
of voice, calm tone of voice.
Maybe like,
Speak slowly.
yeah, and slow movements too.
Slow
so it's
movements,
not-
nothing sudden.
basic
Absolutely.
Speech techniques.
Absolutely. The calmer you are, the calmer you can create the environment. You don't want to add to their chaos.
So be respectful.
Yeah, be respectful. A really important one is question 9, especially for carers. Describe carer burden. Burnout, absolutely. It's when you just can't do it anymore. You can't go on, and it affects every other aspect of your life too. Where you no longer want to go to your job because you're too worried about leaving your loved one at home. You can't care for them. Yeah, it's hard. And it's hard to admit to yourself too, when you need to add that extra bit of help, when you need to implement that extra bit of help. That's where it's also important for us as carers to lean on our friends, lean on our family. Always talk about it, don't keep it to yourself because it will get worse if you do. You bottle it in, it's just going to build and build and escalate until it does explode in a bad way. You don't want that to happen. So talk about your feelings as well. And last question, question 10. Why is it important for carers to take care of themselves?
Because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of it.
Exactly. Exactly. If you're burnt out and you're grumpy, that's going to project onto whoever's around you, whoever you're caring for. And we don't do it deliberately.
No.
We don't project our feelings deliberately. But you know, you can walk into a room and say, "Oh, that person's giving me a bad vibe. I might not want to speak to them today for what I need." Excellent. So that concludes our session for today. I will take those and mark them and give them back at some stage.
I haven't got our names on it.
Yeah. Okay, so
You have your pen back in case you attack me.
I promise I'll be friendly. Thank you. Okay. So what stuck out to you in today's session?
Oh, well, very useful and it was nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something that we can all kind of use if we
I
are.
think it kind of just fortified what we've already learned, I reckon.
Yeah.
Just another step on that.
But the aggression, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the aggression part too, how you can keep yourself safe from someone who's
Most
rather
important is
aggressive
just
towards you.
techniques of managing that
Yeah, absolutely.
without exacerbating it.
Yes, and it is difficult. It is really hard if you're put into a situation and someone's screeching at you and they're, you know, being really intimidating. It is really, really difficult to stay calm because, you know, when you're put in a situation like that, all your senses will go up too. The hairs on the back of your neck are going to stand up. You're going to go, oh my God, I've got to protect myself here. So it's hard to just say, okay, calm down.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, calm down, let's go have a cup of tea and a biscuit. Okay, so thank you for all your participation today. We've covered a lot today actually with our behaviours, and thank you everyone for participating. You all did really well. Really well. Does anyone have any questions? Excellent. Well, thank you very much, and I guess I'll see you next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well done.